Hi, 90% of New Year's resolutions or goal settings for that matter fail. And the secret shift that helped me hack that system. You see, years ago I had a famous coach who helped me, my doggy Moki's interested in listening, who helped me understand that the word of the year is so much more powerful than any goal setting. And so I want to let you in on a few secrets why that is, because on first glance that may not be as powerful, but in this video you learn, first of all, let the word of the year choose you. I'll tell you much more about how to do that, and I actually have a guide in case you need help with that. Second, let the word of the year be your compass. Third, use your unconscious and let the word of the year use your unconscious rather than fighting against it. See, most goal settings fight against your unconscious. And finally, flexibility and adaptability to all of your different areas of life where you want to have a breakthrough, a leap forward, and create lasting changes. Hang on, it's just about getting interesting. First of all, let the word of the year choose you. How to go about it? I would suggest write at least 10 words, but no more than 20 words on a piece of paper. Let it just flow out of you without thinking too much. Overthinking will hamper and hinder this process. Then read over and circle one. And let that word choose you. And this is just the beginning, because we are just about to dig deeper into how you can use that word of the year. Don't judge it. A lot of people want to have more productivity or focus and want an action-oriented word of the year, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or some people, for instance, Christians, judge a word because it doesn't seem to fit in a Christian framework or whatever framework you are using. So, because we dig much deeper, set these resentments or considerations aside. Don't change your word of the year. Once you have it, you have it. For instance, alchemist. Let's say your word comes up as an alchemist, but you're a Christian and you feel, oh, that's, too woo-woo and all that. But as we see in a moment, as we excavate the word of the year, alchemy isn't the human and God and prayer the ultimate alchemy, so alchemist can be something that is very conducive to your world point of view, your religious outlook and beliefs and faith system, or whichever it is. So go with it once you have it, and now we go on the journey of exploration. Next step, your word of the year becomes your compass, your North Star throughout the year. Whenever you're faced with decision makings or creating new habits, it becomes the guiding light for you and simplifies everything, because otherwise you might get lost in the woods with too much to do, too much tasks, too much goal settings. Once you have this umbrella term, you can go from there as a compass, as an umbrella, to guide you through all your different arenas in life where you have a concern. And unlike a long list of resolutions or goal settings, it can be easily recalled at the top of your mind whenever you feel you're off chart of compass, if you will. And you can literally even imagine your life for the year or whichever time frame you have in mind as a map. And so this is your compass to guide you through, out of which you then can make multiple decisions in each situation of life. For instance, with the word alchemy, let's say that might mean putting prayer first, but also might mean there are always ways beyond and above what's already in existence. Because alchemy means that you create something new. It has an element of the creative in it. So whenever you are faced with decision, come back to your word of the year to give you momentum and direction where otherwise you might have felt stuck. Instead of getting bogged down in the woods of all those different goals, you have one overarching theme. You know, like that saying, you can see the forest with all the trees. That's pretty much what goal setting does. We get lost with all the trees and we don't see the forest, the overarching map anymore. And work with your unconscious. Hang on, there is a whole deep level to how we can use the word of the year to work with the unknown aspects. You know, it's often been said that our human brain, the 95% is working on unconscious levels, while only about 5% works on the logical level. And most goal settings trigger the logical level, are born out of the logical 5% of our brain, and that's why they often fail, because 95% might be in resistance to the 5% of the logical goal setting, the conscious goals that you have set for yourself. And you are kicking against the tire, you are kicking against your vast unconscious, 95% of your human computer, your brain. So how do you do that? Let me explain to you. See, because you choose the word of the year because you choose your word of the year from an unconscious, emotional level, and you kind of bypass the rational goal-setting procedure, it means something to this 95% of your unconscious brain, and you can tap into that. So instead of working with resistance and having to force yourself, most New Year's resolutions are born out of forcing yourself into a new direction. The word of the year gently allows you to bring out the best in you that is hidden in your unconscious and subconscious. Have you ever heard of mind mapping? If not, here is what it's on a simple term. You put the word in the middle of a piece of paper, and then spokes go out from the word. Let's say alchemist. Alchemist, and you could say prayer. Alchemist could say medieval monks, chemistry. It could say creativity. It could say the magical, anything that comes to mind as you look at the word in the middle, and then spokes. And then with every spoke, let's say alchemist as prayer, then out of that you create more spokes. What does prayer mean to you? Activating the unconscious, creating that which is not yet, as though believing into that which is not yet as though it was, or whatever comes to mind, until you've filled up the entire paper and you see all the kind of web that this word kind of creates for you in the unconscious. As you can hear, my accent is German, and I would suggest sometimes, depending on which language goes deeper, but sometimes the language of our childhood is the language that is deeply anchored into our emotions. So if you grow up with two languages, speak two languages, allow yourself to play at least in both languages, because sometimes a word resonates in one language much more deeply than in another for you. I would also suggest you do this mind map almost on a monthly basis. You could also do it on a need by need basis. If you are faced with a decision or creating a new habit, you can do this mind map with your word of the year. So for instance, every month, in the month of January, you take your word of the year and you create a mind map. And then you go back and see how those different words that have been spread out on your paper, which really represents your unconscious mind. These words are mental synapses, mental connections that you have not necessarily made consciously, but the mind map shows it to you, and you can see avenues and possibilities that weren't necessarily apparent to you at the beginning. And there's flexibility and adaptability. Let's say you have a word of the year that you want to apply to money. Then you make a money mind map with your word of the year. Or well-being, then you make a well-being mind map with the word of the year. And then you can go even so far that, let's say January, you select one aspect of your word of the year that you have laid out on your mind map, and let that be the dominant theme of the year. And it's also much more fun. It's almost playing like a musical instrument rather than having to stringently adhere to goal settings and guidelines. All of a sudden, just like music, it activates certain elements in us that we didn't even know we had. It activates your creative mind, your artistic mind, if you will, that you can apply even to the toughest situations that would normally require logic. But again, logic tends to limit our mind. Not that we should dismiss it, of course, but once you have brought up to the surface all the unconscious connections, then you can apply logic and apply it to different areas in your life. And so the word of the year gives you incredible flexibility. It's adaptable to different areas of your life and to different opportunities and situations, while giving you a guiding light or North Star to go by. And so flexibility and adaptability are an amazing tool to have while being on your road to the higher lifestyle, the higher goals that you have set for yourself. So here are some important side benefits or benefits of the word of the year. Clarity on your desires. Instead of using the have to do, must do, force myself to do, you're working with your desires, your unconscious desires, and you have clarity on your desires. And instead of resisting those desires, you work with your desires. You allow them to come to the surface and aid you, give you the wind behind your sails, underneath your sails, rather than fighting against the pull of your unconscious desires. Letting go of this resistance also means creating space for growth, for unknown areas to come and become something important to you. Letting go of resistance via the word of the year, via letting your desires motivate you, also means embracing the unknown, and in doing so create space for growth in areas that you may not even have realized. Those of you who have been with chiropractors probably know, let's say you have a pain in your shoulder, but the chiropractor adjusts a total different area, and you say, oh no, my pain is here. He said, no, it's connected to this area because you have a tension there. It will release the pain in your shoulders. And that's the same with the word of the year. The unknown that you allow to come to the surface with the word of the year will allow you to adjust those areas where they are needed, instead of just looking at the pain points through goal setting and trying to adjust the pain with forcing yourself into a new, let's say posture. But the chiropractor adjusts some area in your back and you say, no, the pain is here. And the chiropractor says, no, don't worry, because the tension is in this area and radiates out and creates an imbalance here. And once you adjust the other area, the pain in the shoulder will go away by itself, almost magically. Well, the word of the year works like that. Goal setting is often only addressing the pain where it hurts most and trying to force yourself against the pain into, let's say, a better posture, when in reality another area would need to be adapted and adjusted. Well, with the word of the year, because it deals with your unconscious and emotions and desires that are underneath the goal setting, it helps you release those areas and is way more effective than goal setting, which often leaves you exhausted and even disappointed in yourself, because just like with a pain in the shoulder that you force yourself and the pain doesn't go away, you feel it's your fault, when in reality it's the fault of the system you've been working with. And so just like the chiropractor, the word of the year adjusts those areas that really need adjusting so that you can get freedom in all other areas as a residual effect almost. See, the word of the year builds trust in yourself, where goal setting often does the opposite. Goal setting again often leaves you feeling you let yourself down, you haven't been disciplined enough, you haven't tried hard enough. But think again of the shoulder that hurts, but it's really the back that needed adjustment, and you're fighting against yourself, depleting your energies, all in an effort to adjust something that you have applied your energy in the wrong area. So by working with your unconscious, you are aligning yourself, aligning your goals, and make it much easier on yourself. And as a result, you learn to trust yourself, not trust just your logical have-to-dos, but trust the deeper knowing which you're tapping into with the word of the year, and trust that there is a knowing in you that you can trust yourself, that you're not letting yourself down, and that you can fix where the real problem lies by diving into these deeper elements of your brain and bringing it to the surface. It also helps you let go of these pesky blocks. As you've seen probably from my other videos, you can see further down on the money love language. I believe that fighting against your blocks, that having to unearth your blocks and diffuse them is counterproductive. Even if we know our blocks, let's say a certain childhood memory that created certain resistances or blocks, knowing doesn't necessarily diffuse them, as many of us have experienced. We're always told, oh, once you know your blocks, you diffuse them, or you just can say enough affirmations to counterbalance these blocks. Well, I find it's much better to work around your blocks or turn your blocks into stepping stones rather than try to diffuse them. So because the word of the year works with your unconscious, your beliefs and your habits and inspired actions can work with your unconscious again, instead of trying to kind of work against the blocks or diffuse the blocks. Because once you allow your unconscious to bubble to the surface and allow you to take inspired actions, you don't have to look at the obstacles or your blocks. When I was 18, I had a driver's teacher. In Germany you had to take a lessons by a driver's education teacher. And he was a very unique individual, but one thing he told me stays with me throughout my entire life, and that is, don't look at where you don't want to go, look where you do want to go. It's like so simple, it's like, yeah, of course, but yet we constantly violate that simple principle by constantly looking at where we don't want to go, looking at the blocks instead of the solution, setting us up for failure by forcing us into goal settings instead of setting us up for success by working with our unconscious via the word of the year and the way it resonates with our emotions and the way we can excavate the emotions. There's another saying, you can't dance with the devil, you can't dance tango with the devil. A lot of times when we force ourselves to go against our desires, our deeper instincts, our unconscious, we are dancing with the devil in a sense. It's a form, metaphorically, of course, of dancing with the obstacle, dancing with that holds us back instead of letting it go, and working with where our unconscious really wants to go, and it's our friend, our ally, not something we have to clobber down. If you need help with the word of the year, I have prepared a free guide and cheat sheet you can download right under the video. It's completely free and it helps you get on that road for the word of the year. Let me know if you have a word of the year and how it unfolds throughout this year and beyond. Talk to you soon.